So you never considered Nicaragua or Belize or did you look at any of those places or?
Ironically, I didn't. My logical brain thought maybe I should, but once I experienced Costa Rica, like Costa Rica's never had a war in
Hmm.
known history, right?
Yes.
There's something that happens with a culture where military and war is just not part of their culture and not part of their
Yes.
parents' generation or their grandparents' generation or their great-great-grandparents' generation. Like, there's just no inherited pain body here, you
Hmm.
know?
Yeah.
Like, everybody is so kind and so friendly.
Can I ask you a quick favor? Adventure Freaks is growing, but over 80% of you watching right now aren't subscribed yet. If you love tips on affordable living and retiring abroad, hit that subscribe button. It's free and it really helps us grow. All right, today we are heading down to the beautiful country of Costa Rica with my new friend Teresa De Grosbois. Did I get it right?
You got it.
Well, it's a pleasure to meet you. Thanks for taking the time out to do this. I appreciate it.
Oh, my pleasure.
Yeah, so Teresa, let's start out by, you sharing a little bit about who you are, and where you originate from, and why you left your country of origin, and how you selected Costa Rica.
Well, I'm originally Canadian. I'm a business owner, so I was running an organization that was targeted at teaching influence to people who wanted to create change in the world. And because my business was mostly online, as I got up there in age, I started realizing, I'm living in a place that has 8 months of winter. Why? You know,
And it
I
gets
could
in your
run this
bones
business from
after.
anywhere in the world, right?
Yeah,
So I
right.
started looking around, and it's funny. As soon as I started looking, almost everybody started saying Costa Rica to me. Like it
Hmm.
was sort of in the space of about 2 months. I must have had 50 people say, "You should go create something in Costa Rica. You want to develop a community. You want to get to some friends together. Let's do Costa Rica." And I'm one of those people that believe. I believe that coincidences happen for a reason.
Yeah. Yeah.
And when 500 people in the space of 2 months say the words Costa Rica to you, like it wasn't even just we should go somewhere warm or,
Yeah.
try Central America. It was just literally everybody saying Costa Rica. I thought,
Hmm.
okay, I'm gonna go down there and check it out. And, fell in love with the place and the rest is history.
Yeah. Now, how long ago was it when you made the decision to move to Costa Rica? When did you make that move?
It was about 8 years ago.
8 years ago. Okay.
Yeah.
So that was when, other areas like Panama and other places were starting to take off. But I agree with you. When you get that kind of messaging over and over, you can't ignore it. You have to listen to it, and then you got to go down there and see for yourself. So you heard the Costa Rica thing over and over and said, I got to go check this out.
Yeah, absolutely.
So you never considered Nicaragua or Belize or did you look at any of those places or? Not sure which country is the best fit for your move abroad? The Ideal Destination Finder takes the guesswork out of the process. It's a customized 22-question assessment that reveals your top 3 destinations based on your lifestyle, priorities, and budget. Instead of spending months researching and second guessing, you'll get a clear, personalized shortlist to guide your next step abroad. And it could save you thousands by avoiding the wrong move. You can get started now at adventurefreaks.com. Just scroll down a little bit and you'll see the Ideal Destination Finder on the left. Just click it and start the assessment. I also put the link in the description, or you can click the QR code above. Now let's get back to the video.
Ironically, I didn't. My logical brain thought maybe I should, but once I experienced Costa Rica, like Costa Rica's never had a war in
Hmm.
known history, right?
Yes.
There's something that happens with a culture where military and war is just not part of their culture and not part of their
Yes.
parents' generation or their grandparents' generation or their great-great-grandparents' generation. Like there's just no inherited pain body here, you
Hmm.
know?
Yeah.
Like everybody is so kind and so friendly. Not that there isn't crime here. I mean, they probably have a similar crime rate to North America, but um, if you have your car break down or you're in trouble or something happens, there's literally a crowd around you in seconds seeking
Hmm.
to help you, you know?
Okay.
And that's something I've never heard of or experienced anywhere else in the world, you know?
Hmm.
And once you experience that, it's kind of like, huh, well, maybe I just should stop looking. Maybe I
Hmm.
found it, you know?
Hmm.
So that's really the experience I had.
Okay, great. So then you moved down 8 years ago, and then you had to find a town to live in. How did you do that? And how did you select the town?
Well, I started looking at different early stage developments. I actually had a group of friends that wanted to come down together, a group of friends and colleagues from the Evolutionary Business Council, which was the business I was running. And we started looking around, and after about a week of looking around, I went on Google one night and typed in land for sale in Costa Rica, and a Kijiji ad popped up, which you probably have never even heard of Kijiji because it's
Mm-mm.
only in Canada. It's like the
Okay.
Canadian buy and sell, right? And I'm like, what the heck is somebody selling land in Costa Rica and Kijiji? It just sparked my interest, right? I looked at the ad and it said early stage development. We're looking for somebody who wants to get into the ground floor and, very, very good deals on land because we're still in the development stage. And so I emailed the ad and discovered that the person who had posted the ad was about a 5-minute drive from where I was staying in Costa Rica.
Oh, wow.
And they had just randomly thought, well, let me try posting an ad in Canada because Canadians might be interested. And so we made a date to have lunch the next day, my former business partner and him, and he took us out to see the land, and it just ticked every box on my list.
Hmm.
It was really economical. It was in the Goldilocks zone, like
Hmm.
not too hot, not too cold, close to the ocean, but high enough elevation that it would be perfect weather.
Okay.
Like something that happens well, something that happens globally in the tropics is if you're at a bit of elevation, you're never too hot and never too cold,
Hmm.
right? Which is why there's these areas of the world we call Goldilocks zones, right? That are just perfect for indoor outdoor living. And it was just at the bottom end of the Goldilocks zone. So like warm, but never too warm that you'd need air conditioning.
Hmm. Yeah.
And but the other thing was like it wasn't anywhere near an active volcano. It wasn't anywhere where it could be affected by earthquakes or tsunamis at a significant level. Like it's just, environmentally safe in this really quaint little town of Berlin, which hadn't really been discovered yet. So everything's still very economical.
Hmm.
Like I had about 50 things on my checklist and it did the whole checklist.
Oh, wow.
So my logical brain kept looking,
Hmm.
like, but then I quickly realized this was the place I was comparing every other place to, you know.
Hmm.
And when you start realizing, okay, this place has become the benchmark, and now I've looked at a bunch of other places, and it's still the benchmark. At some point, your brain realizes, I think we found it, and here it is, and let's circle back and go talk to this developer. So the developer was very keen on creating a whole community with us based on the principles of blue zone living and conscious living. And so we just had a lot of fun sort of figuring it out and setting it up, which was really cool.
Okay, so let's back up a little bit. So you were already down there living in Costa
Well,
Rica?
actually, I was just looking around
You were visiting.
yeah, we were visiting
Okay.
basically on an exploration of would we want to build a community here?
Okay.
So we had planned to come down for a couple months and, let's check it out. Would we want to build a community here? And, you know, I don't know, there's something that kind of ka-chunks with you when you realize it's time to stop looking,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
and it just ka-chunked. I
Yeah.
had at the time thought I might still look at Belize or Panama. But after talking to a number of people about their experiences in Belize or Panama and realizing, there was just nothing in either countries that checked all the boxes on my list,
Yeah.
no, we found it. Here it is.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. That's great. So now let's dive into the community you're developing. So some of the viewers have never heard the term blue zone. So can you share with the viewers what that is and what this community is about?
Well, the whole notion of blue zones was research originally developed by a scientist named Dan Buettner out of Europe. And he was basically looking at where are the regions of the world where people live the longest. And all he did was he took the regional data, like regional statistics from districts all over the world, and anywhere that he found more than a few people above the age of 100, he would put a little blue pin on the map. And so there's these certain zones that started to light up, and therefore he called them blue zones because they had all the little blue pins on his maps, right? And Costa Rica was one of those zones. In fact, it was the Guanacaste province of Costa Rica that was officially the blue zone. But what his original research showed, and a lot of people have now come to realize, is that Guanacaste was the only province in Costa Rica that doesn't have a corner in the capital city of San Jose. Costa Rica's population of about 4.8 million, and 4.2 million of those live in the capital. Like,
Yeah.
so it's a giant city and then a bunch of rural areas, right? And when you look at the rural towns of Costa Rica, there's people above the age of 100 all over the place.
Huh.
And it's just because the statistics of the capital city drew the average down in the other provinces.
Yeah.
The only province that popped up as an official blue zone was Guanacaste, but a lot of people are now realizing no, it's really all of Costa Rica in the
Hmm.
rural areas is actually, in fact, blue zone. These areas where people live well above 100 years, they're and above the age of 90, they're still active contributors to their families, you know. I had this really cute experience the other day. I was walking up our local hill. Our little town of Berlin de San Ramon is like 2 minutes from where our community is. And myself and another girlfriend were walking up this hill, and it's a pretty steep hill. We're in the mountains here. And Dinah Maria, who's 97 years old in Berlin, she's one of the beloved elders of the town, just comes marching past us and like, hola, señoritas. And she's chatting away, and we're like, you know, but it's like, yep, I want to be you when I'm 97.
Yeah.
They're just so active and vibrant. Vibrant would be the
Hmm.
word. They're still crystal clear and
Hmm.
beloved community and amazing personalities and amazing contributors to their community. It's like, yeah, you can see why people want this lifestyle.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. I'm actually so intrigued. I'd love to come down and actually visit your community.
Yeah.
So you started this community with the idea of creating longevity. Is that the key?
Yeah. Yes,
Healthy
longevity.
lifestyle?
Longevity and conscious living. And when we
Okay.
talk about conscious living, we're really talking about drama-free living, right? There's a growing movement to say, let's start noticing how we think and how we behave as a result of how we think, right? And this whole notion or this whole science around personal empowerment and consciousness has really, opened up a possibility for what's possible for us to really live an amazing life well into our latter years, right?
Hmm.
Because it's all about noticing, do we have a lot of complaints? Do we have a lot of negative thought patterns? We tend to get mired in negative thinking, and then that negative thinking actually steals our happiness away, right?
Yes.
And so if you want to live a long and prosperous life, you actually have to start up here
Yeah.
as to, okay, what's the way I think about my life? And as a result of that, what are the choices that I make? And how do I interact with other people? And do I get stuck in codependent behaviors that aren't really serving me, or do I break free of those,
Yeah.
And so our community's committed to the principles of both, the principles of conscious living, which we support each other in, and the principles of blue zone living, which is, we're planning to develop a whole food forest here and eat locally and live locally. We're
Yeah.
right in the region where we've got two of the biggest farmers markets in all of Costa Rica within a 25-minute drive of us.
Hmm.
So you can just get a ton of groceries for $40 at any of the farmers markets. And, so it's easy to live a very fresh, whole food, healthy lifestyle.
Yeah, that's yeah, and we're going to get into the costs of living. I'm so intrigued with what you're starting there. Now, you said drama free. And
Yes.
is that even possible? Because we as humans are
Yeah.
complicated, and there
Yes.
are layers to us, and sometimes a lot of the things below the surface many people aren't even aware of, and if they get touched on, they come out. So
Yeah.
I know you know understand what I'm saying. So do you
Yeah.
guys do a work a process within this community to kind of, reinforce what the community is about and taking
Yeah.
responsibility and understanding what comes up as yours? And how do you do that? I'm really
Yeah.
intrigued with
Well,
that.
we are centered around a retreat center here, Vista Mundo Retreat Center. So
Okay.
we do host a lot of workshops here that are teaching the principles of consciousness. And at the same time, it really comes down to not being a gossip-free zone. If you need to vent about someone in order to get your thoughts clear on how you're going to go talk to someone, that's one thing.
Hmm.
But if you're, what they would call triangulating, and you're talking to everybody except the person you have a problem with,
Sure. Right.
then that's not healthy.
Yes.
It's not healthy for you and it's not healthy for the community, right?
Yes.
And so we simply don't tolerate those behaviors, right? Like we are like, no, you got a problem with someone,
I
you
love
talk to
your,
them, right?
I love
And
it.
and if you need support in talking to them, fine. We'll get together as a community, or we'll have somebody in the community volunteer and help you go talk to them. But you also got to look at what's the lens you're looking at this situation through, right?
Yes. Yep.
Because a lot of
Yep.
people, they create a sort of a way of looking at things from the garbage or the baggage in their past,
Yes.
and they can't see things differently into the future. And so we really encourage people to look at, are you overblowing this situation? Are you assuming the worst because of past experience that has have nothing to do with this person you're dealing with now?
Yeah. Yeah.
We go into those kind of inquiries because ultimately human beings will end up in drama if
Yes.
you don't fight to not have drama in your life,
Yes.
right? And a lot of us walk around with this false conception that, oh, it's everybody else. It's not me. I'm perfect. But the rest of the world is where the drama comes from.
Right.
And if that's your way of thinking, then I hate to tell you, but you're probably the source of a lot of drama. And you
Yes.
really need to look at your own lens, right?
Yep.
Because there is a lot of power in becoming so self-aware that you can look at how you interact with other people and be committed to always doing better.
Hmm. It sounds like such an amazing community that you're building over there. I love it, Teresa. That's
Thank you.
fantastic. And what is the name of the retreat center?
It's actually Vista Mundo Retreat Center, which is sort of the centerpiece of the Vista Mundo community, which is just very early stage development right now. But
Okay. Do you guys have a website?
we do. The
Okay.
community is vistamundo.info.
Okay. Yeah, we'll
I'll
put
put
that in the
that
link
up there.
below for anybody who's interested in visiting and exploring that further.
Yeah.
All right. So when you moved there, Teresa, you had to obtain a visa. What can you share about the visa requirements? Most countries have an income requirement. Costa Rica does as well. Do you know that? And what are the steps to obtain residency there?
Well, I first have to challenge you on the notion that you had to obtain a visa because Costa Rica is one of the few countries, lots of people live here without a visa.
Okay.
You're allowed to come in as a tourist and stay for 6 months, and you
Okay.
can drive for 6 months before you need to leave. So there are literally hundreds of thousands of snowbirds here that
Hmm.
buy a place or rent a place, come down for 6 months, and then go back up north and never worry one iota about ever getting a visa, right?
Okay.
If you go that route, you've got to make sure you've got private health care because you have to have some form of Costa Rica residency to get the government health care here.
Okay.
Um, but a tourist visa is absolutely fine, and they don't seem to really mind if your business is abroad and you're still working on your business. Like, in my case, my business ran on the internet. Doesn't seem to be an issue here. I mean,
Okay.
technically it might not be allowed, but nobody seems to really care,
Yeah. Okay.
Um, so I think for most people, if you just want to come down and check it out, just the regular tourist visa you get when you cross the border is sufficient to just come down and spend your first 6 months here. And there's lots of people who just drive to the Panamanian or the Nicaraguan border every 6 months, get the stamp on their passport, and continue to live here, right?
I see.
Now, when you do that, you're still
Interesting.
paying tax in your home country. Like,
Yes.
so if you're Canadian, you're still paying tax in Canada. If you're
Right.
American, paying tax in America. In fact, though, even if you get residency here, you're still, if you're American, you're still
Yeah.
paying tax
You
in
got
America. You
you
never get
always
out
pay
of
tax.
US taxes. Yeah.
No.
Whereas in most other countries in the world, if you give up your residency status, you no longer have to pay tax, even though you still
Sure.
have your citizenship, right?
Yes. Yeah.
Um, but yeah, then if you do want to claim residency, then there's different forms of residency, and that's a slightly more complicated topic, but we can get into that further if you want.
Well, do you know most of the viewers that are retirees, they're always interested, is there an income requirement? Do you know if there is for them that they have to
There is,
prove a certain
yeah.
amount per month?
Yeah, if you want to file for residency here, and that means that you would start paying tax in Costa Rica and you would be eligible for Costa Rica healthcare if you file for residency, then there's different categories. And the simplest for most retirees is that you apply as a pensionista, which just means you're a pensioner. You have to be able to show a government pension or a corporate pension that is
Hmm.
officially a pension.
Hmm.
Like, so in my case, as a business owner, I had a RIF, a retirement income fund in Canada, which is something a lot of business owners get. That wouldn't qualify me.
Oh,
So
okay.
I had to apply in a different category, which is rentista. And so for pensionata, you have to be able to show you have at least 2,000 a month in income.
Okay.
To come in as a rentista category, you have to be able to demonstrate that you have at least $60,000 in savings somewhere in the world, that can provide you a permanent income. Like,
Okay.
so in my case, we used my RIF in Canada to say, yeah, this is set up to provide a permanent income,
Hmm.
um, and therefore qualifies, right? There's also an investor category where if you invest more than 200,000 in Costa Rica, then you can apply for residency as an investor.
Hmm.
Most people, like, if you can get in as a pensioner, come in as a pensioner, regardless of whether you qualify in the other categories, because your health care will be a lot lower if you do, right?
Yeah.
So what you pay in government health care is sort of staggered based on how wealthy they think you are. And
Hmm.
if you're a pensioner, it's the lowest. If you come in as a rentista, it's slightly higher. And if you come in as an investor, it's higher still.
Okay.
So all three categories are fairly easy to apply under, and the process takes somewhere between a year and 2 years usually.
Okay.
Um, you've got to show your birth certificate and passport, and there's a bunch of hoops you have to jump through, but there's lots of people to assist you through the process here, so
Yeah.
it's not that difficult.
Okay. Great information. You mentioned 2000 a month. Which is that the lowest income requirement for
Yes,
one of these residencies, and which one is it again?
that was the pensioner.
The pensioner. Okay.
Yeah,
Okay. And is there an age requirement for that? Do you know?
as long as you are drawing a pension, it's fine.
It's fine. Okay, great.
So no age requirement. You have to just be able to demonstrate that you have a pension that you're drawing, and it gives you at least 2,000 a month in income.
Awesome. All right. Well, great. Okay, the next thing is anybody moving down to Costa Rica, they need to find a place to live. And
Hmm.
there's always a lot of chatter and comments about, oh, Costa Rica's so expensive, this, that, and the other. And I'm like, it depends on where you live, just like
Yeah,
anywhere else. So
yeah.
give us an idea, Teresa, on what you can find rentals for in your area and maybe in and around your area, what they go for, what they start at for the viewers watching.
Yeah, it really depends. The more touristy the area you land in, the higher the rents will be. And the other thing that dictates what you're going to pay in rent is, are you signing a year-long lease, or do you just want to rent in what would be tourist high season, which is North American winter, right?
Hmm. Hmm.
And because there is a bit of a problem here for people who try and rent apartments where people come down in December, they say they're going to stay a year, and then they, have some kind of a family emergency in April and go back home and got the cheap rent from the year-long lease and therefore never ended up paying the higher rents. And then they
Hmm.
leave the landlord kind of high and dry, the Costa Rican landlord or whoever,
Yeah.
holding the bag for now an empty apartment for the other 6 months of the year, right? So It's I guess say rents really vary. You can probably start as cheap as 600 a month in rent if you're
Okay.
out of the tourist areas,
Okay.
and depending on the level of comfort you need in your apartment. So
So,
a more Costa Rican style apartment will have very small bedrooms, might not have hot water, might not have screens on the windows, but could be in a very beautiful location and like a fun place to live. So if you
hmm
don't mind paying it a bit, rents can be very, very cheap.
hmm
If you want to have somewhere that's more to a North American standard, like where for sure you've got hot and cold running water, there's
hmm
screens on the windows, you probably have marble countertops instead of tiled counters, like little bit nicer finishes in the apartment. Then you're probably looking at 1,100 to 1,300 a month in rent.
Okay.
Um, so similar to what you might pay in a lot of communities up north, with like not the biggest cities. Like, you know what I
hmm
mean? So if you're in the tourist areas or like right down on the beach though, and you're coming and you're just wanting to rent during high season, you're probably looking at 3 to 4 thousand a month in rent,
Okay.
um, to be able to get a place nailed down for you. So it really depends on what you're looking for. That said, the ability to buy land and build something here, like there's still very inexpensive houses for sale. I sold my house in Canada and built a whole retreat center here for
hmm
what I was able to get from my house in Canada. So it's very reasonable to buy a building lot here for under 100 to 150,000. Like in our
hmm
community here, the building lots start at 50,000 US, right?
Okay.
And you can build a pretty nice house for $100,000.
hmm
Like 100 to $110 a square foot gets you something pretty decent in Costa Rica.
hmm
So if you've got the patience to spend the year and get something built, a lot of people for what they can sell their North American residences for, end up with something quite beautiful here, and money left over in which they can now invest and
hmm
use as additional income, right? The interesting thing is if you can find a community that's early stage development like ours, by the time that community's mature, those homes are worth well into the millions.
Yeah.
Because once you have a community that's, got a lot of international folks in it and it's well established, those are the highest priced communities in all of Costa Rica.
hmm
Um, if you get in at the ground floor, though, you're still getting in at, what it would cost to just build a house here, which is very inexpensive.
Yeah. You mentioned that you can purchase property for 50,000. How
Mhm.
large is that plot of land for 50 grand?
Well, like in our neighborhood, a $50,000 lot would be about the size of a normal city lot.
Okay.
So,
hmm
and then, a little bit more would get you something that's two or three times, like so closer to 70,000 would get you a piece of land that's two or three times the average city lot.
Okay.
Um, Up to 150,000 would get you something that's an acre and a quarter. So that
Gotcha.
would be, 5 to 6 times the average city lot,
Yeah.
right? So
Okay.
the interesting thing is here too that the size of a garden in North America that you could grow a bit of food on, you can grow 10 times the food on down here.
hmm
So it's interesting. When I first came down, I thought I wanted one of the bigger lots and I'm going to plant all these trees or whatever. And then I realized, half that amount of land, and I could still have the same vision for how many fruit trees and nut trees and things like that I could grow because
hmm
it just grows at such a high density here.
hmm
And sometimes a smaller lot is actually easier to maintain.
Yeah, yeah. So you actually built your own house that you're living in there.
Well, right now I'm actually living in the retreat center because I'm
Okay.
I'm one of the owners of the retreat center here, and I haven't started building my house yet. I'm kind of waiting till things are a little bit more mature and the
hmm
retreat's up and running a little bit more robustly before I want to move into my own home because it's just
Okay.
easier to help manage the place while I live here.
Okay. And then okay, so that's fantastic information. So you're looking on the low end at $600 in your particular area.
I would say, yeah.
Now, how far away are you from the beach?
As the crow flies, it's about 18 miles to the beach, but it would be about an hour drive
Hour drive. Okay, so are there
through the
any,
windy mountain roads.
yeah,
So,
what are rentals going for closer to the beach where you could live in a small town and walk right to the beach for the beach bums, for the surfers, for the guys who want to,
yeah,
just kind of be close and kind of live that bohemian lifestyle where you could walk to the pub, you can walk to the beach, you
yeah.
could walk home.
It really is going to vary by what town you're in, you
Okay.
know, and like anywhere, the closer you are to the capital, the higher the costs will be, the closer you are to the international airports, right?
Hmm.
So, if you're within an hour of the international airports, the rents are going to be a lot higher.
Hmm.
Or if you're close to one of the bigger tourist towns, like if you're near Tamarindo or Jaco Beach, those are major tourist destinations, rents are going to be a lot higher.
Okay.
So, so there outside of town and up country, you might still find something for 800 to 1,000 a month, but it's probably going to be very Tico style. Tico is just the Costa Ricans' name for themselves.
Yes. Yep.
Um, you know, but it might not have hot water and it might not have really good screens on the windows and things like that. So if you
Hmm.
don't mind roughing it a bit, which a lot
Yeah.
of people, like a lot of retirees come down here and they're like, oh, let me just rough it. It'll be fine. You probably can get for under 1,000. The further south you go, though, like if you go down near Osa Peninsula or places down there, if you don't mind being 3 or 4 hours from the international airport or the deep south on the Caribbean side, um, then there is more to find, and the rents are cheaper.
Hmm.
You it really varies, though. Like sometimes people find absolute gems, but other people come and they just came 2 weeks too late into high season and now they can't find anything. So
Sure. Yeah.
it can be a little bit hit and miss.
All right, great information. All right, now let's break down a little bit on the cost of living, just to give the viewers an idea what you would pay per month to live in Costa Rica. So what do you think people would pay for utilities per month? Electric, water, typically on a plot of land in an apartment or a house.
Yeah. So my electric and water usually run between 60 to $90 US each per month.
Okay.
So not a lot. The one thing to be aware of though with utilities here is Costa Rica uses exponential utility rates. So they do that to encourage people to really think about turning their lights off when they leave a room, right?
Hmm.
So if you go above a certain bar, your entire bill doubles. And if you go above a higher bar, that entire bill doubles. So a
Interesting.
normal utility rate, as long as you're conscious of like, don't leave the lights on when you go out, don't leave the lights on when you leave the room.
Yeah.
Um, don't leave your hose running outside or dripping,
Yeah.
like think about how much you're using. And as long as you do that, they're ridiculously cheap. But I have had a few months where like I had a house guest who left the light on all day long or ran a fan all day long or a few things like that even when they weren't in the room and all of a sudden my utility bill went to $500
Mm.
because I hit those billing
Yeah.
benchmarks.
Yeah.
Well, but normally they're pretty inexpensive as long as you train yourself to be conscious about how much you're using.
Yeah, that's really clever. It's like an incentive-based utility program to
Yeah.
train your mind and going, shut it
Yeah.
off, or it's going to double my bill.
Yes.
It's
Like
brilliant,
like that
really.
2 minutes of leaving that light on might be the 2 minutes that doubles the whole bill. So I better turn the light off. It's actually quite ingenious, I think.
It really is, yeah, because that's how we learn. That's
Yeah.
truly how people
Yeah.
learn. Okay, how about Wi-Fi and cell? What do you pay per month for that there?
Well, we have Starlink here, which is pretty
Okay.
good. I think it's gosh, I'm trying to remember what I pay for my Starlink. It's under 200 a month, but it's not cheap. Like I
Wow.
don't think Starlink is cheap
So the
anywhere.
highest I've heard Starlink is about
So
55 that people
no,
pay.
it's a lot higher than that
It's a
here.
lot higher than that. Wow.
I can't remember. I can't remember exactly what it is. Sorry, that one's just not coming to me in this moment. But it's a lot more expensive than you pay in North America.
Okay.
I and what was the other one? Cell
Cell
phones. So
phone, yeah.
I just use a pay-as-you-go plan on a cell phone. I just set it up on my digital eSIM. So when I go back to Canada, I switch over to my Canadian cell, and when I'm down here, I use my Costa Rican cell. Man, I think I put $20 on that every 2, 3 months.
Okay.
I mostly use it just for data, and I use WhatsApp to text people. So I try not to do too much international texting, and it really doesn't cost me much at all.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, Several big companies down here that are all very, very cheap. It's just
Hmm.
if you're using the phone roaming and stuff, then it can get expensive quickly.
Sure.
But if you just buy a local cell chip and switch over and turn off your North American one, it's usually ridiculously cheap.
Yeah. Okay, great. How much do you spend per month on groceries? Are groceries expensive down there?
Well, I'd say that one depends. So if you're addicted to your North American brand names and you have to have
Okay.
Rice Krispies and a certain brand of potato chips and then you're going to pay a lot for groceries because all of those things are imported in and taxes are very high here on imports. Like so anything that's imported in, the government taxes it at almost 100%. So there's a lot of big chain grocery stores here that cater to North Americans and they import a lot of North American brand names and therefore the groceries are very expensive, probably double what you'd pay back home. If
Okay.
you live like a Costa Rican, which is way healthier for you anyway,
Hmm.
and shop at the farmers markets and buy all your fresh produce and fish and meats and stuff like that at the farmers market, and then just supplement with what you need at the big grocery stores like okay, I really want this particular brand name of olive oil or whatever, those things might be more expensive. But, I walk out of the farmer's market every week with 5 or 6 stuffed bags of groceries and I've maybe spent $40 US,
Hmm.
so it really depends on how you choose to have your lifestyle, right?
Hmm.
Like if you have to have North American brand name cookies instead of baking your own cookies,
Yeah.
then you're going to pay double what you're used to paying for those cookies back home. If you buy a Costa Rican brand of cookies, they'll be very cheap and they're actually
Hmm.
very yummy,
Yeah,
you
yeah.
know.
Do you
So
think that you pay under 200 per month, would you say?
um, I would say I pay under 200 a month for groceries because I live more like a Costa Rican. I prefer to live that way anyway. I prefer to cook my own food, not eat a lot of processed foods, and eat a lot of fresh food. So my
Hmm.
grocery bills are ridiculously cheap.
Yeah.
But that said, it really depends on your diet and how you choose to live.
Well, and what you described too at these markets, you can get some fit, you can get your fish, your meats, and produce, which is
Yeah,
grown there. I mean, it sounds like the place
yeah.
to go anyway. It would be the
Oh, I
ideal
mean, like
place
the
to go.
San Ramon Farmers Market, I think has some of the best cheeses in the world.
Yeah.
It's so cute. The local Costa Rican cheesemakers are so humble. They just call it all cheese. Like it's all just queso.
Yeah. Yeah.
But each one of them has a different style of cheese and they all taste different. And oh my God, they're so good. Like amazing cooking cheeses,
Yeah.
I literally sneak some in my suitcase and bring it home to Canada with me when I'm going back because it's so good.
Yeah.
So some of the food here is just like way better than you can get anywhere else.
Hmm.
But it really if you embrace the culture and embrace the lifestyle, you find you live a lot cheaper.
Yeah. It sounds like that cheese thing there is like almost this untapped marketing aspect to Costa Rica that somebody eventually will go, this is so good. You need to call it
Oh,
this. We need to
yeah.
call it this. We need to package it as this. And all of a sudden it's going to take off and everybody's
Yeah.
going to
I mean,
go,
well, if this is were France, every town would have a different name for their cheese.
yes,
And
exactly. Yeah.
it's funny, like here it's like they're just like, oh no, it's queso fresco, fresh
Mm,
cheese.
yes.
It's
Yeah. Yeah.
so,
Yeah.
so
Okay, great. And then for eating out, going to just a local Costa Rican restaurant, what would you pay for a lunch or a meal at one of these places?
yeah, absolutely.
So you never considered Nicaragua or Belize or did you look at any of those places or?
Ironically, I didn't. My logical brain thought maybe I should, but once I experienced Costa Rica, like Costa Rica's never had a war in
Hmm.
in known history, right?
Yes.
There's something that happens with a culture where military and war is just not part of their culture and not part of their
Yes.
parents' generation or their grandparents' generation or their great-great-grandparents' generation. Like, there's just no inherited pain body here, you
Mm-hmm.
know?
Yeah.
Like, everybody is so kind and so friendly. Yeah, again, that depends. If you're in a tourist region, you would pay on par or even higher in some cases than you would at the average North American restaurant. So it really depends on how much they cater to the tourist crowd or do they cater to the local crowd.
Mm-hmm.
If they cater to the local crowd, I would say it's probably 60 to 70% of what you'd pay in North America. So it's not ridiculously cheap, but pretty affordable, you
Mm-hmm.
know. So, you know, 15 to $20 still gets you a meal in a restaurant here if it's not a restaurant in a high tourist zone or a restaurant that's really catering to the
Okay.
tourist.
Wow. So that would be even like a rice, beans, chicken, salad, plantains. You're going to pay $15 for that?
It really depends. There's still restaurants you can go in and get arroz con pollo, rice and chicken and stuff like that, or a casada for, oh, maybe $6, $7.
Oh, okay.
Um,
There are
but it
those.
wouldn't be everywhere. You
Yeah.
know, like there's like lots of little hidden gems where that still exists, but you got to look around for them. And you know, some restaurants it's going to be more like 15 to $20 to go out for dinner.
Okay. And that's
First
the,
move here, it was a lot cheaper, but somewhere along the line, Costa Ricans figured out that they could charge a bit more and they started charging a bit more. And I think that trend is happening throughout Central America right now.
okay. All right. And so you picked the town of what you said, Berlin, which is close to a tennis.
Yeah, we're about 30 minutes from Atanas, about 25 minutes south of San Ramon, which
Oh,
is one of the bigger cities in Costa Rica next to the capital.
okay.
And yeah, so we're sort of dead center to Atenas, San Ramon, and
Hmm.
Palmares and San Mateo. We're about 20 to 30 minutes from each of those towns.
So this is country living. You're kind of in the rural part of Costa
Yes.
Rica, in the jungle, but in the mountain, correct?
Yes, yeah, we're at about 3,000 feet elevation here with beautiful views of the Gulf of Nicoya and the Guanacaste Peninsula. So actually some absolutely spectacular views. We're about a kilometer off El Camino del Cielo Equilibri, which is
Hmm.
really the only known scenic driving route in all of Costa Rica, the only named route, like that's named for the scenery, basically. And
Hmm.
it's basically means the trail of heaven and hummingbirds. So
Wow.
it's a little stretch of secondary highway where there's views in both directions. Like the highway goes down a ridge top. And so you can see all the way back to the capital or all the way out to the Gulf of Nicoya and the Guanacaste Peninsula. So it's just some breathtaking views. And the locals plant all these flowering bushes all along the road. So it's just a haven for butterflies and hummingbirds. So a lot of
Wow.
birds come along that route too. So it's a really pretty little area. I
Hmm.
remember when I first came out to this development, driving down that road, thinking, man, if this was my commute every day, I would die happy, you know,
Yeah.
because it's
Yeah.
stunningly beautiful. Ironically, I don't commute, I work from home, but but I do love the drive. I love going into town.
Now, on your property where the retreat center is, do you have views from the property there as well?
Yeah, absolutely. We look out to the Gulf of Nicoya. So
Okay, so you can see the sea and everything.
yeah, yeah, it's really
Wow. Now, do
nice.
they have any where you're at? Are there any like monkeys or sloth or anything like
I
that
had
out
a
there?
monkey 3 feet from my window yesterday.
Oh, really?
I'm like, oh my God, he's right there. Yeah, we've had monkeys come by about 6 times in the last 2 weeks. So
Wow.
it's kind of neat because you hear them before you see them. You know, they
Yeah.
have sort of a shrill call they make where the sentinel monkeys are calling to the other monkeys that it's okay to come, you
Yeah.
know.
Yeah.
But we have a little ravine right next to the retreat center, and we often get a troop of capuchin monkeys coming up there to feed.
Hmm.
And some months we don't see them, and then other months we'll see them 7 or 8 times in the space of a month. So
Yeah.
it's really
What's the
yeah.
rules on like when you experience these creatures coming into your community? I mean, as far as like feeding them something or giving them stuff. I mean, are there rules, clear
Yeah,
rules?
best not to feed the wildlife. In
Yes.
fact, we encourage people like if you're composting, don't throw out cooked food.
Yeah.
Um, because we don't want to attract wildlife for the wrong reasons. We want them to stay native and natural in their natural habitat.
Hmm.
And I always teach people this trick. If you want to take really great photos of monkeys, it's actually really rude to a monkey to make eye contact. Any primate, they don't like eye contact. It's really aggressive. So hold your phone up and pretend you're hiding behind it, like, and like set your phone on video, and then they'll focus on you kind of ducking under the phone, like, dropping your eyes, and they won't notice that you're videoing them. Otherwise, the phone feels aggressive to them, right? And you can just get some amazing monkey videos. It's really, really fun.
Wow.
Yeah.
Where do we see your monkey videos at?
Oh, I've got a TikTok channel. I'm Tika Tess on
Tico
TikTok
Tess?
and Instagram. Tika. Well, Tika is just like a
Tika?
Costa Rican woman.
Tica
TICA_Tess on TikTok
Tess.
or YouTube. And I also have a Facebook page that's Tika Tess.
Okay. That's a
And
great tip. I love that.
yeah, yeah. So I actually made a little video with some friends showing people how to take monkey videos. So
Nice. Okay.
yeah.
All right, great. And so because of where you live, I'm guessing there's no metro or train or
There is a
tram.
bus. There is a
There,
bus from the
okay.
town of Berlin that you can go up to San Ramon if you want. It's also pretty easy to get Uber here. So lots of people, and very inexpensive to Uber around here.
Hmm.
A lot of people do live here without a car because cars are one of the things that are expensive here. Like they tax imports at 90%
Yes.
on so um a car that you'd spend 20,000 in the States on, it'd be 40,000 here almost.
Hmm.
So a lot of people do live here and they just hire drivers, like so once or twice a week they hire a driver to take them in and get their groceries, or you also see often groups of friends that share a car, things like
Hmm.
that. And a lot of those types of systems work pretty well.
Hmm.
I kind of like my freedom, so I splurged and bought my own car, but
Okay.
I think it's really a personal choice.
Yeah. Now, did you buy used there or
I did,
you
yeah.
did?
I bought a Hyundai Tucson, so I've got a SUV.
Okay.
So.
And what are the going rates for a used vehicle? And that's, functional, gets you to A and B, not going to have many issues. How do you find a vehicle like that and what are the going rates
Well,
going?
I would say they're very, very good at keeping cars on the road down here. Like
Okay.
unlike North America, where we tend to just trash our cars and then, assume that we're throwing them away after 12 or 15 years. There's a lot of 30, 40-year-old cars on the road that are still in good shape down here. And they may
Hmm.
have even had the whole engine replaced or whatever. They tend to do work on their cars instead of ditching them and getting a new one, you know.
Hmm.
Um, that said, I would say a budget of 15 to 20,000 would get you something fairly decent if you want to
Okay.
buy a car.
Okay.
But that will be more than a 10-year-old car, most
Yeah.
likely. Yeah.
And where do you find them at? Do you go to a dealership there or?
You can go to dealerships. There's a very vibrant Facebook marketplace down here, and there's also a website called Caros,
Hmm.
CAROS.com, where you can look for used cars in Central America.
Okay.
So any of those places have lots of decent deals.
And are most of those situations where you have to pay cash or can you finance them down there?
Financing is usually only available if you have assets in a country or
Okay.
like, so usually if you're not a citizen or a resident of a country, and this is global,
Hmm.
like, so if I as a Canadian moved to the United States, I couldn't get financing in the US unless I became a US resident or a US citizen, right?
Hmm.
Similarly, if you're moving from the United States or Canada down to Costa Rica, until you have residency, financing generally isn't available for you, right?
Okay.
So you would have to get a line of credit or something back home and borrow the money back home and then buy the car down here, which is what I did. I got a Canadian line of credit,
Hmm.
bought my car down here, and then paid off the line of credit in Canada.
Gotcha. Okay. All right. Great information. All right, Teresa, now we're on entertainment. What do you do for fun in Costa Rica?
It's just so much fun to do here. Costa Ricans know how to party. That's all I can say. They have so many festivals and just cool things to do. When I first moved here, we lived in the town of Palmares, which is about 20 minutes from here, and I swear they had a parade once a week. they're always having a festival or something. The central parks are often the locations of festivals. Um, there's also loads of live music. Like a lot of the local bars are constantly advertising, bringing in live bands. Some of them are gringo bands of retirees that have moved down here and they've just created their own band and they play in the local pubs, which is really cool. And you can still watch movies and things like that. Like a lot of the theaters here they will advertise whether the movie is in Spanish, like dubbed into Spanish, or whether it's in English with Spanish subtitles.
Hmm.
So if you just look for, oh, okay, the 8 o'clock show is the one that is still playing in English and it's got Spanish subtitles up on the screen. So you just choose that one and you can still listen to the movie in English, right?
Hmm.
You just have to, have to put up with that there's Spanish subtitles running across the bottom of the screen, right? So it's, and it's very economical to go to movies here relative to North America.
Hmm.
Like the prices here are still about half what they are in Canada. I don't know what the prices are in the US, so I can't comment, but
Yeah.
you know, like $7 for most shows here.
Hmm.
Um,
Okay.
so, there's, and then if you want to go to big concerts, like some of the big bands and whatnot come here, you're driving back into the capital then for those. Loads of museums and stuff like that in the capital. If you like soccer, it's football here, but huge sport. There's usually games between the local towns every weekend, which is a big deal. Everybody goes and cheers their town on. So
Hmm.
there's a lot of culture and a lot of things that you can get involved in here. Loads of clubs too. There's huge population of expats down here. So there are a lot of meetup groups and clubs that are all English speaking people that you can get involved in
Hmm.
if you want, so that you don't feel like you're isolated and trying to learn a foreign language in a foreign country and there's no community there to support you,
Hmm.
you know. That having said, though, my life's a lot more fun and a lot more rich for having worked on learning Spanish. I won't say I'm fluent yet. I'm still struggling a bit, but and having a lot of Costa Rican friends really makes a difference because they
Hmm.
introduce you to the culture in a way that a group of North Americans never would, you
Yeah,
know.
yeah. Now, yeah, thanks for sharing that. So just a question. So if you live where you live rather than in a major town, do you still find ways of accessing these groups and these activities where you're at in the
Oh yeah.
rural area? Yeah.
Oh yeah. I still have lots of neighbors who are gringos and it's only 20 minutes to the nearest town. So
Okay.
it's
Okay.
funny, like when I lived in a big city, going to visit a girlfriend for dinner one night usually involved a 20-minute drive. It's just somehow when you're out in the country, your brain makes it something different when,
Yes.
like driving across Calgary took way more than 20 minutes to visit most of my friends or colleagues.
Right.
But so I actually appreciate the country driving. It's so much easier than driving in the city, you know.
Yeah.
So I don't find it's really that big of a deal. You want to go
Okay.
to dinner, you just drive to town and go to a movie after. It's a
And if
lot of
you
fun.
don't have the vehicle like you do, you can Uber in or find a driver to take you in. And how
Yeah.
much would that cost to get you into the town that's 20 minutes away?
There and back to San Ramon is about $24 US.
Okay.
So,
Uh,
it's not super expensive if you're just doing it once a week. Like
Right.
what a lot of people do is they make Friday the day they go to town and they go do the farmer's market, do their grocery shopping, maybe do something fun, like so you can combine trips and then it's really not that expensive at all,
Yeah. Yeah.
like go out to dinner, hit a movie, get some late night groceries, come home,
Yep. Yep. And
So
everybody's got to make friends with you because you have the vehicle. So then
yeah,
they can
yeah.
save on Uber.
Oh, I know. Usually there's neighbors. Like I have actually lived here without a vehicle for periods of time. Like when I got rid of my last vehicle, I had a lot going on and I just didn't have time to get out and look for cars. So for about 7, 8 months, I lived without a vehicle. And I didn't find it was that bad. I had lots of neighbors that would reach out and say, I'm heading into the farmer's market. Do you want to ride? And it's I would say over 50% of the time I didn't need to hire a driver because somebody else
Mhm.
was willing to pick me up.
Yeah, yeah. All right, great info. All right, Teresa, the last thing we cover is healthcare. For
Mhm.
many of the viewers watching, they're always interested in finding out, what type of healthcare system is available in Costa Rica? How do you access it? How much does it cost, especially if you pay for a comprehensive plan, insurance plan that will cover you per month?
Yeah. Well, Costa Rica has one of the best healthcare systems in the world.
Okay.
By the World Health Organization rankings, they way outrank the United States for
Mm-hmm.
quality and
Mm-hmm.
accessibility for the healthcare system. They're about on par with Canada. Um, I actually had an experience where about a year and a half ago, I was in an accident and ended up hospitalized. And I was gobsmacked how nice the university was. I ended up in Uniba, which is the university hospital here.
Mm-hmm.
Nicest hospital room I've ever been in my life. Like they literally had a futon for, if you've got a friend staying to help you, they come in and bring bedding in for your friend.
Mm-hmm.
In at
Wow.
night with a menu for what would you like for dinner? Not that there's a lot of choices, but it's like you get to choose. Do you want beef, chicken, or fish?
Mm-hmm.
Do you want this kind of sauce or that kind of sauce? Like I've never been in a hospital and they gave me a menu before. Like that was just like wow.
Yeah.
Um, so that was pretty phenomenal experience. If you come down just on a tourist visa, you can buy private insurance here. I think when I was doing private insurance, it was costing me about $2,000 a year.
Okay.
US, just in case you got Canadians listening too, so about
Yep.
2,000 US. I now have the government insurance and I pay about 200 a month, like 'cause now that
Okay.
I'm a resident here. So similar to buy the private versus the government. Um, I pay a little higher insurance because I had to apply as a rentista. Like
Okay.
I couldn't show a government pension because I was a business owner, so I didn't have a high enough government pension or corporate pension that I could come in under that category,
I
right?
see.
If you come in as a pensioner, I understand the insurance can be lower. It depends on several factors, but I think it can get as low as 110 to $150 a month.
Okay.
But they base it on your income and certain other things. I'm not
Sure.
an expert on what the calculation is. Nobody seems to be here.
Mm-hmm.
Um, it's cheaper if you come
Okay.
in it.
So all the viewers are going to be going, what kind of accident did she get into?
I had a stupid moment of I had some painters coming out the next day and I there was like a big hole that needed to be patched on the wall and I thought I should just run up there and patch that wall so it's dry before the painters get here. And the ladder broke. So
Oh.
I fell on the tiles and smashed up my arm and injured my shoulder and broke my hip.
Oh,
So
wow.
but that really in a way, it was kind of a miracle because it gave me an appreciation for where I'm living.
Yeah.
Uh, First of all, living in a community, I had a bunch of girlfriends here that just stepped in and like they created a little schedule of who was going to cook for me. I was really humbled by the level of support I got from friends as I was learning
Hmm.
to walk again. The other thing was like Costa Rica is somewhere where like physiotherapists will still make house calls.
Wow.
So,
Okay.
so like for 60, $70 a visit, I had a physio actually coming out to me every day, teaching me how to, he was amazing too. He'd be like, "Oh, Miss Tracy, you look so amazing." And like he couldn't feel bad. He was so happy and so encouraging.
Hmm.
And so he got me in the pool here and, got me walking through the pool and just, really egged me on to the point where, I won't say I still get a little bit of body pain, but I really
Hmm.
feel like, yep, I'm ready to live to be 120. I can
Yeah.
do it. I can walk up and down the hills again and have my full mobility back. So, yeah, I think, if you're recovering from surgery or recovering from an ailment, you couldn't pick a better country to do it and because the medical support and the different treatments that are available here are like second to none, really. They're pretty
Yeah.
amazing.
Well, and the fact that you're very conscious in building a community that and you have a supportive community that you're around. A lot of people just don't do that.
Yeah.
And they are alone and they are isolated. And if something like that happens, a lot of times, man, it's tough. It
Yeah,
can be
it can
tough
be.
in a
Yeah,
situation like that. So thankfully for your situation, you've created this community, people are around, and you have
yeah.
this support system, which is really terrific. When you were hospitalized, were you paying for that particular insurance, the government insurance, 200 a month, and was everything covered?
That was under the private plan
It
at
was
that
under the
time.
private
And
plan.
and
Okay.
I think the total bill for two surgeries was around 20,000.
Okay.
So in a way, like if that had happened in the States, I think the bill would have been closer to 200,000,
Yeah.
So
Uh,
it definitely shows you, like I do know there are people who live down here without insurance and they just take the risk
yeah.
um, because they can afford the consequence. So yeah, I was kind of astounded that it was still within the realm of reason, like
That's still a lot of money.
yeah,
$20,000 is still a lot of money. And if you would have been on the government plan, would that have been covered?
yeah, fully covered.
Oh,
Yeah, yeah.
okay. So you weren't a resident back then.
I do think, yeah, when that happened, that was just before my residency came through. Um, the private healthcare covers different hospitals than the government healthcare.
Hmm.
So I don't know. I don't think the government plan would have covered the Uniba hospital I was in that I was talking about earlier,
Okay.
which is the university hospital. But I'm not 100% certain of that. People would have to check.
Yeah.
So if you're on the private insurance, what's accessible to you may be a little different than if you're on the government.
Yeah. All
Yeah.
right. Well, fantastic information, Teresa. That's everything. Is there anything else you can think of that we didn't discuss that could be helpful to the viewers that are watching, considering moving to Costa Rica? Anything else
Yeah.
come to
I would
mind?
just say if you're thinking about it, come on down and check it out. You really it's okay to step into living your dreams. Like the one thing I realized in life is our dreams are scarier to us than they are to anyone else because they're our dreams, right? That seems so huge, but like nobody's going to be better hardwired to have the courage to step into your dreams than you because they're your dreams.
Hmm.
You'll be the most committed to them, right? So if it's your dream to create this kind of lifestyle for yourself, to really create a life of more meaning, a life where you contribute to the community and are really someone who's there for your friends and that your life matters. That you're not just sitting around watching Netflix all day, but you're out looking at how can you build a better world, build a better community. Um, I'd say step in. Give yourself permission to be outrageous and get back on the adventure that you dreamed for yourself when you were younger, because life's way too short to just sit in your rocking chair and grow old.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well said, Teresa. It's truly been a pleasure to meet you, Teresa de Grosbois.
You
Grosbois.
got it.
Yeah. So thank you so much for doing this. I truly appreciate it. And all of this information is wonderful what you're building down there. And I hope to one day come and visit.
Thank you. Be lovely to see you.
Okay. You have a great rest of the day and I'll talk to you soon.
Yeah, you take care. Thanks for having me on.